First of all, I want to say that I'm not a scientist, but a concerned citizen of Cleveland, Ohio. And before you watch this video, I want to just let you know that my whole goal is to convince somebody that if we're smart, we might dome the plant before it is dismantled. During the final stages of World War II in 1945, the Allies of World War II conducted 2 atomic bombings against the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. These 2 events are the only use of nuclear weapons in war to date. Together with the United Kingdom and the Republic of China, the United States called for the surrender of Japan on July 26, 1945, threatening Japan with prompt and utter destruction. The Japanese government ignored this ultimatum, and 2 nuclear weapons developed by the Manhattan Project were deployed. Little Boy was dropped on the city of Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, followed by the Fat Boy over Nagasaki 3 days later, August 9, 1945, and the Harshaw Chemical Factory played a major role in that becoming a reality. And now today, 50-60 years later, we are still dealing with the contamination from the war effort. A side note that I want to add at the beginning of this video. I first heard about the Harshaw Chemical Company just about like January, February. So I went down for my first visit on February 26th this year. And I just got my detector and I didn't really know like a ton about it. So at the time I had it set at this right here, the MRH, which is the millirentgens an hour. And those numbers I really didn't understand, so I actually set it to the CPMs, the counts per minute. Well, since learning more and more and researching about it, I found out that actually I switched it to this microsieverts an hour. So that's the numbers I'm getting now. This is the background at home for me right now. So at least with the actual numbers, we could go into the dose rates and a lot more information that is more pertinent to what's going on over there and how it's reacting to our bodies. So I just want to give a little heads up that I am going back. All my my first readings were actually in rentgens. So this last time I'm going to go and do the microsieverts. So, but these numbers are actually just measuring the intensity of the radiation that we're picking up over there. That's all this number means. That's why when I was doing CPMs, I was basically just doing the CPN for background and then the CPM over there. And I only deducted that the difference between the two would be what was being picked up from the soil or the air around the plant over there. So now that I got it switched, I'll be able to exactly compare. Like right now I'm finding out, I could be wrong also, but a normal dental x-ray is going to give you at that rate right there, 0.100, it's going to take 50 hours to be equivalent to what you're receiving in a dental x-ray. Then you could take that number and actually put in some formulas where you could find out what it's actually being absorbed into your body, which I think that's what that was, and how it's affecting the human tissue, which is the most important part. And that's all factored into the quality factor, which human would be 1. And then actually I'll show you a little graph later about how if you get into alpha, the gammas are ×1, but when you go into alpha rays, the quality factor is actually ×20. So these numbers, the numbers are bases, but then you could use them in the formulas to actually get more information about what's going down over there and how it's affecting our bodies. So I hope that helps a little bit to straighten out my little predicament that I got myself into, because like I said, I didn't understand the numbers on the detector, and with doing, it's already July 11th or July 10th, so I've been at it for like 3 months, and now I understand the numbers even more, how it is pertinent to the exposure readings down there and how it's affecting the human tissue. Alright, here's the chart that I wanted to show you. These are the measures relative to the biological effect of radiation exposure. So what's really important is actually what it says exposure over here. It says the exposure is the measure of the strength of the radiation field at some point in the air. This is the measure made by a surveymeter, mostly in Roentgens, but also in sieverts. So that's what I'm doing right now, is all that number is giving me the strength of radiation field. So then what you have to do is you take it a next step further, which is the dose, or the absorbed dose, and that's the amount of energy that ionizing radiation imparts to a given matter of mass. So in other words, the dose of the amount of the radiation absorbed by an object. Okay, so right there it's the standard unit of absorption is in grays. And then we have the dose equivalent. That's the equivalent relates to the absorbed dose to the biological effect of the dose. So the absorbed dose is of a specific type of radiation is multiplied by a quality factor to arrive at the dose equivalent. So I think that's really interesting. I'll show you the chart. And the dose rate is how fast the radiation dose is being received, and that's that number per hour. Either we're doing micro sieverts an hour. So here's what I wanted to show you is the Q factor. So that number 0.100 seemed like that's about it. But the problem is my detector picks up alpha, beta, gamma, and X-ray. But it's not telling me exactly if it's alpha, or a beta, or a gamma, or an X-ray. It's just telling me I'm picking up one of those. So I don't have the money to get more expensive equipment, but that number, most of the Q factors are ones until you start getting into thermal neutrons, fast neutrons, and right there, alpha particles. See, a gamma or a beta or an X-ray are all quality factors of 1. So you just take that number and it's 1. But if you pick up an alpha particle, it's telling you to times it by 20. So those numbers actually, if you're dealing with alpha particles, the numbers jump up way much in relation to, we'll jump right to it real quick, in relation to the Q, which is the quality factor. See right here, when exposed to X or gamma rays, the quality factor is 1. So you would take the dose equivalent, which is this 1 rem, is equivalent to 0.01 sieverts. Well, so you would times that by 1, and it would be the same if it's an X or gamma. But when you're dealing with alpha, that would be times 20. So the dose equivalents are actually greater. I might be wrong, but the dose equivalents are greater for an alpha particle picked up. And that's just something to know. I can't tell you exactly, unless I got better equipment, whether it is an alpha, but neither do you, or neither does anybody that's walking around over there. That's my whole point. Alright, so let's just read real quickly about the dose, or the absorbed dose. Whereas exposure is defined for air, the absorbed dose is the amount of energy that ionizing radiation imparts to a given mass or matter. The absorbed dose is used to relate the amount of ionization that X-rays or gamma rays cause in air to a level of biological damage that would be caused in living tissue placed in the radiation field. Alright, here's the dose equivalent. This is we have to read this. It says, when considering radiation interacting with living tissue, it is important to also consider the type of radiation. Although the biological effects of radiation are dependent upon the absorbed dose, some types of radiation produce greater effects than others for the same amount of energy imparted. For example, for equal absorbed doses, alpha particles may be 20 times as damaging as beta particles. In order to account for these variations when describing human health risks from radiation exposure, the quantity called dose equivalent is used. This is the absorbed dose multiplied by certain quality or adjustment factors indicative of the relative biological damage potential of the particular type of radiation. So the higher the Q factor, the greater the damage to the tissue. And that being the quality factor, Q is the factor used in radiation protection to weigh the absorbed dose with regard to its presumed biological effectiveness. Alright, this is for microsieverts. That's what we're set at. That's what that little background, the upside backwards U is. That's microsieverts. So at 0.100 microsieverts, that would be equivalent. It would take you 50 hours at that rate to be equivalent to what you receive in a dental x-ray. So if that number jumps to 0.200 microsieverts, now that means that you're getting the same dose that you get in a dental x-ray in not 50 hours, but 25 hours, where it's going to take 5.0 to get the equivalent of one dose of radiation in a dental x-ray. Now the absorbed dose, that's different. That's in grays. And that rate would be through the FDA website. It states that in D speed, which is the slowest of the x-rays, which 70% of most, according to the survey, 70% of most dentists use D speed, you're actually getting 1.7 milligrays, and that is the actual dose that your human tissue is absorbing through that dental x-ray. So it's a little confusing, but once you understand the numbers, you could definitely picture the impact or understand it a little bit better. So that's why I switched from the CPMs to, actually I switched to the from the CPMs in the millirentigens. I switched it because remember, I was millirentigens an hour was giving me how many counts per minute. That's why it was really high. When you switch it to microsieverts, the other side is the counts per second, which was 0. It's got to go up to a certain amount before it even gets 1 count per second. So I'm doing the U, which is microsieverts an hour. That's the number that I'm going to stick with. Hope it helps understand this. And I know it's confusing because there's a lot of factors involved here. So at least you get a sense of what I'm trying to explain now as you watch the video. Today is March 26th, and I'm going to take a road trip to the Harshaw Chemical Company at 1000 Denison Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio, which was the former Harshaw Chemical Company that used to process uranium for the Manhattan Project. So I wanted to get a background reading where I live, which is about 10 miles south of Cleveland, Ohio. So this is the background reading, and we'll see what kind of readings we get down there. at the Ohio Erie Towpath, and this is where it ends over here. And the Harshaw Chemical plant is beyond those trees over there and in front of the bridge. And the wind is blowing out of that area. Let's see what's... Alright, we're at the top of the towpath right here, and we're taking a reading and see what this reads after a minute. I'm definitely getting a little bit above background radiation level readings here. But we are definitely at least about a couple thousand feet from the main buildings. It's all fenced off and it's very hard to get to, so I'm going to take video of different areas throughout the area. Different areas around the vicinity of the plant. Alright, let's take a little walk. This is the top of the towpath right here. Here's the marker for the beginning of the towpath. Here's the little information booth. Wind is coming out of the north, so definitely the wind is coming. This wind is definitely blowing over the plant and blowing in this direction. You could see it. I'll go a little closer to that tree, but you'll see it, the direction of the wind. We'll get a little bit closer. Alright, this is the south side of the plant. The wind is blowing right to us, but this is as close as I can get. I'm not going to go past the barrier, but I want to get a reading here, see what it says. I'm trying to find a position of where it's actually at. Actually, I think it's in the direction over here. Yeah, it's over this way. My position was off just a little bit, but we're still downwind. But we have to be at least a couple thousand feet away. So we're just going to try to get closer. I wanted to get a quick reading here. Do not cross. Yeah, this is the limits. It looks like this might have been a little road or some dump maybe over on this side because they got it crossed off. As a matter of fact, I hit the jackpot, or a small jackpot at that. Definitely where I'm sitting compared to like 10 feet away from me, it's jumped at least, I'd say, 30 counts per minute. Alright, we're gonna go head to another direction. Or actually another position around the plant. We'll see if we can get closer. Well, there it is, 1000 Denison Avenue. And we wanted to get a reading over here. This is where it all took place. I'm gonna try to get closer to the railway over there. See if we can get a reading over there. And then I'm gonna get a close-up of the main building where it all took place. Alright, we'll come back to that. That's it right there. Gonna walk on the railroad over here, because this is probably where they were transporting it. They're actually gonna want to build a museum over here for the towpath. I just talked to the security dude, and he said not to go in there, you'll get sick. I said I'm not jumping no fences. But this is where it all began, so there definitely are some hot spots. You gotta get a little bit closer there. I'm not getting any closer. Harvard Avenue, 1000 Harvard Avenue. That's where all the uranium was processed for the atom bombs up on Japan. Believe it or not, they want to put a towpath. Look at that water up on top of the building there. And actually, I think right there is a restaurant. So anyways, the Metro Parks want to put a towpath through this place, and it's highly radioactive from uranium, thorium, and who knows what else was processed here to make those bombs. Nobody has a clue what happened over here. There's good old Cleveland. There's the Harshaw complex. Now that building was responsible for processing all the uranium to build the atom bombs. Quite a feat. And I bet you didn't even know Cleveland was responsible for winning the war. I think the worst building is building G, which is that guy right there, with those little tops on the roof. Right there is the Harshaw Chemical Company. That building right there processed all the uranium for the atom bombs. And who knows what else. But it's highly radioactive. Why is it still sitting there after 50-something years? I don't get. But they want to turn this into a passive recreation towpath to connect to Lake Erie. Yeah, I don't know if this was a sick joke or anything, but they actually named a pair of streets off of 42nd after the three primary types of radiation, alpha, beta, and gamma. Isn't that amazing? First of all, alpha are fast-moving helium atoms. It's high energy, and they're stopped by just a few inches of air or a piece of paper. Beta are fast-moving electrons. Since they are lighter than helium, they are able to penetrate further through several feet of air or several millimeters of plastic or less of very light metals. The gamma rays are photons, just like light, except a much higher energy. The X-rays and gamma rays are really the same thing. The difference is how they were produced. Depending on their energy, they can be stopped by a thin piece of aluminum foil, or they can penetrate several inches of lead. Here's where it actually states all workers at the Harshaw Chemical Plant Company and laboratories of the separate facility located at 1945 East 97th Street. This is hard to believe also. Few radiation measurements or evaluations of dust exposure were made in plants during MED-AEC work in the first few years of operations because it was anticipated that the processing of uranium ores or concentrates and compounds would involve little risk of radiation injury. This belief was based on the low specific activity of uranium and what was thought at the time to be a temporary nature of the work. Alright, let me wrap my head around this. We've got the Harshaw Chemical Company factory on 1000 Harvard Avenue, and it processed all the uranium from Canada and the United States, yellow cake uranium, to make the atom bombs that then were shipped to Oak Ridge, Tennessee to be processed. So I know it was a big secret project through the Manhattan Project, all kinds of sites scattered across America, but I'm trying to figure out why the damn buildings are still standing here 50 years later when so many people knew what was processed there. So every time the wind blows, plutonium, thorium, whatever is blowing off those buildings, being scattered around the neighborhood. Whenever it rains, it's going down, trickling down the drain pipes into the Cuyahoga that goes into Lake Erie, from which we drink. You build steel yard commons, and I don't even think it was tested for radiation because you guys think it's down the street, but all that radioactive material blew throughout the neighborhoods. So just because it's not right next to Harshaw doesn't mean that the area could be contaminated. There probably might have been testing for radiation before they built steel yard commons, but I couldn't find no reference to it. Whenever I'm around town, I ask people if they ever heard of Harshaw, and now I'm hearing some people say that they knew people that worked there, they got leukemia. Some people say, oh, there's barrels of radioactive waste still in the buildings there. Some people say they can't say nothing because they're getting a check from Harshaw. I was going to interview someone, which is fine if you're getting a check and you're being compensated, but I'm finding that a lot of people around Cleveland know about Harshaw, heard about Harshaw, and I could see why no one wants to talk about Harshaw. I got no response from anybody, whether a few of the top politicians I chose to write to, a few reporters. Of all people, Carl Monday, maybe he didn't get the email, but I'm not waiting to get for a response a month from now to do this story on here. So basically got not one response from anybody, so this is why I'm doing it on my own. I just find it like amazing that the Metro Parks plan on doing something with the property. It's hard to really find out what exactly is going to happen there, but what I think they're going to go ahead with the proposed trail through the area, and that in itself is insane when you think of the materials that are known to be there, like uranium. I think thorium-235, I think it is. I'm not 100% sure. 235 or 238, whatever was found on the property. Wikipedia, it is a known carcinogenic isotope. So when you read these reports or news studies coming out that say one hot particle can cause cancer, well, this is why I'm trying to do everything that I can to get awareness about it. And at least, the least I can hopefully will come about this, my reporting, is that when the buildings do come out, the neighborhoods will be alerted and everybody will be either inside or miles away, and no one will be breathing thorium, uranium, and who knows what's going to be floating around Cleveland that day. And the one thing I can't believe is that they have a restaurant right on the corner there, about 500 feet from the buildings that processed that stuff, a hamburger and wing place, and no one seems, I don't think anybody's aware how close they are to Harshaw, what was done over there, and literally you're eating atomic wings. So what can you do? Avoid the place. That's what I'm going to do. I went there once for some research, and I don't plan on going back until the buildings are built. All my aerial photographs are going to be able to let me know when all the new buildings are up where the hot spots are, or where they should be, where building G stands. Where building G stands, and we'll be able to see what is on top of that area, and hopefully be able to check it and test it, and to see if it's been cleaned up. So it'll take a long time for this to come full circle, but this is why I'm doing this report for the people of Cleveland. Harshaw has had most of its processed wastewater tied into the sanitary sewers in 1989. Since the fall of 1993, all processed wastewater from Harshaw has been diverted to sanitary sewers. Stormwater, groundwater, and non-contact cooling water are the only remaining discharges. In the U.S. Army Corp of Engineers Buffalo District, in their Table 2 former Harshaw Chemical Site groundwater unfiltered analytical results from 2008 to 2009, 14 samples tested positive for various levels of thorium-232. It actually tested for also in finding radium-226, 228, thorium-230, 232, uranium-234, uranium-235, and uranium-238. Since thorium-232 was found at Harshaw, let's do some background on it. 232 decays by alpha decay with a half-life of 1.405 times 10 to the 10th power years, which is 14 billion years, which is over 3 times the age of the Earth. Increased scrutiny over sites of former contractors to the Manhattan Project led federal environmental officials to Harshaw's production facility on Harvard Avenue, which refined uranium between 1944 and 1959. Investigators discovered that the 40-acre site had high concentrations of hydrofluoric acid, and the site was added to a list already under study by the Department of Energy's formerly utilized sites remedial action program in 1999. Oversight for the program soon shifted to the U.S. Army Corp of Engineers, and in 2003, a review conducted by the Corps concluded that radiological and chemical contaminants posed no immediate health risk to the general public. Well, I don't know if that's before they found thorium at the site, but although thorium has 6 naturally occurring isotopes, none of these isotopes are stable. However, one isotope, 232, which was found at Harshaw, is relatively stable, with a half-life of 14.05 billion years, considerably longer than the age of the Earth, and even slightly longer than the generally accepted age of the universe. Thorium-232 is a primordial nuclide, having existed in its current form for over 4.5 billion years, predating the formation of the Earth. It was forged in the cores of dying stars through the R process and scattered across the galaxy by supernovas. Well, now we have it scattered all over Cleveland thanks to Harshaw. Thorium-232 is now classified as carcinogenic. A carcinogen is any substance, radionuclide, or radiation that is an agent directly involved in causing cancer. This may be due to the ability to damage the genome or to disrupt the cellular metabolic processes. Several radioactive substances are considered carcinogens, but their carcinogenic activity is attributed to the radiation, for example, gamma rays and alpha particles, which they emit.
I'm going to go on the towpath.
As of June 6, 2012, on Cleveland.com, Plain Dealer website, towpath trail builders have a new way to get around contaminated land in Cleveland. The plans to connect the towpath trail through a plot of radioactive land south of Steelyard Commons has been ditched. Instead, officials are working on an ambitious multi-million-dollar detour that would finally connect the Harvard Avenue trailhead with the shopping area and complete one of the last links of the 110-mile trail. The connector would be in place by 2016, 9 years after the effort began. The eventual connector will loop around the contaminated property. Most of the route will be on county-owned land, directly beneath the Harvard-Denison Bridge and above the existing train tracks, curving at each end to connect with the existing trails. A dead-end branch of the new section will allow users to walk or bike along the Cuyahoga River. Yeah, that sounds like a real smart idea. Cuyahoga County and Canal Corridor officials said they don't want to wait any longer to connect the trail. I bet they don't. So, a temporary path was recently completed for towpath users along streets. Says some people already were using the roads and sidewalks to continue their time on the trail. He said the new sidewalk and signs will help keep people stay on track. Cuyahoga County and Canal Corridor officials said they don't want to wait any longer to connect the trail. Cuyahoga County and Canal Corridor officials said they don't want to wait any longer to connect the trail. My conclusion is that even though they say they're going to go around it instead of through it, I still think that eventually something will be built on the property. That's what we got to look for. I think this is where they dumped the yellow cake uranium. So that's the marker. Here's the original Harshaw Chemical main office and central research laboratories on 97th Street. There it is. Now this is when they tore it down. It's definitely them two are the same. Two different pictures. Alright, here is the comment section of the razing of the former Hathaway Brown School in the Cleveland.com article. And what I thought was very interesting is this article by Lucky Mama. And basically, if you look towards the end, it says a company came in to do asbestos and who knows what else remediation before demolition started. I know of several people, including myself, who developed cancer while or after working there. Many of us wonder how the building might have contributed to these diagnoses. We'll never know, but I can say that none of us shed a tear upon seeing the wrecking ball. Well, the strange thing is they want to preserve it as a Hathaway Brown building without realizing that it was the original Harshaw laboratory. And I would bet that the radiation at the location is what contributed to this cancer from the people that demolished the building. (97th and Chester). That's where it was right there. Alright, there it is. It's a parking lot now. I think this is exactly where it was, right here. Now, what I'd like to know is where the bricks from the old Harshaw plant went to. Because they probably used them in some landscaping somewhere. So someone unfortunately has got some radioactive sandstone. There it is, 97th and Chester. So now I'm walking down the sidewalk that used to be in front of Harshaw. So let's walk across the parking lot here and see what, if anything, let's go across here. I'm actually standing like right where it probably was here. Somewhere around here. As a matter of fact, this would be a cool little area here, this little drain tile. Let's see what we get here. Pitch any money, they didn't do no dig up over remediation over here. Only people thought about this place is the Hathaway Brown. Oh wow, there's a sewer drain. Alright, let's go back. Before someone thinks I'm doing something shady here, but I'm not. Cool, look at the patio is open. Look at it. I wonder if they have atomic wings. And that's Harvard right there. The towpath trail is actually only maybe another 1,000 feet up the road that way. And actually I've seen about 6 or 7 people there in a matter of 15 minutes, so it is being used by a lot of people. Alright, here it is again. Now, from looking at the aerials of this place, there was actually another set of railroad tracks, and I'm pretty sure they went right over here, which they must have been taken out. Now, these are the tracks that brought in all the uranium throughout America, North America, and Canada. And I wouldn't doubt if the metro parks are going to use this rail for something later. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. Now we just crossed over the bridge. Right there is where all the depleted tailings went to. That's a hot spot right there. And lo and behold, look at it. We've got businesses all around here, right next door. Actually, you could buy some wings. Alright, and if you want the microsieverts per hour, you are getting around 0.014 microsieverts an hour. So we'll have to look into that to see if that's chest x-ray or x-ray when you go get your teeth done. Except that's not the same kind of radiation that we're dealing with here. The radiation we're dealing with here is uranium, thorium, plutonium, and all kinds of stuff. We're not talking about x-rays, we're talking about alpha, beta, and gamma. the dust is blowing right over me. Please. And there's the marker. Mile marker 5. Alright, here's the parking lot. Here's my problem in a nutshell before I run out of batteries. Harshaw is right over there. Actually, it's right over there. When the wind is blowing off of there, it's coming over in here. It's being deposited on the ground over here. And as these trucks kick up this dust on this gravel, it comes and blows on people just like him that are using this to get healthy. Alright, I got another lead. Someone told me about this place. And actually here the sign explains it all. I'll go back to the reading. If it gets higher, I'll tell you what it hits. Read it. It says that this park is on the site of a reclaimed industrial waste facility. Through the joint efforts of the Ohio EPA, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, private industry, and the village of Newburgh Heights, the waste was cleaned up and the area prepared for recreational use. A cell is in place to secure the low-level radioactive industrial waste. Non-hazardous solid waste has been contained. The cleanup was designed to ensure that this area would be safe for recreational purposes. Approval of the Ohio EPA is required for further development of the recreational park. A cell is in place to secure the low-level radioactive industrial waste. Through the joint efforts of the Ohio EPA, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, this park is on the site of a reclaimed industrial waste facility. And look at, they ended up actually putting a pretty little park here for the kids to play. I don't know whose sick individual thought of this idea, but give me a frickin' break. Actually, this is pretty nice. It's a pretty nice little facility over here. They should have a little sign and call it Radiation Park. Doing is I'm taking a reading off an acquaintance who happens to live across the highway from the Harshaw Chemical factory, and this is exactly what I was looking for, a pre-33 house that still has its slate shingles on it. So that would mean technically that possibly that fallout from Harshaw is on the slate here. And what I'm picking up is definitely above background, but it's in the 40s, high 40s. So there's definitely something up on this roof over here. Since it's invisible, we don't know what it is, but we'll give this about another minute or two to see how high this number goes up. Alright, we're going to leave it at this when I get more time because this gentleman has to go to work, but this is a quick reading right here, and as you could see it popped up to 70, which is definitely higher than background. We'll give it another 30 more seconds here since it's going up. And we'll call that a day. The gentleman has to go to work, and we'll do the drain spout for one last test. Alright, hold on, we're kicking it up into the 60s. Alright, to be continued, definitely. Oh, this one's going nuts. Let's change it, see what the... Here's another house that is on the west side of 176 off of Spring Road, which is about a mile 90, south 92. Of the Harshaw Chemical plant. 96, this is like the highest this meter's ever gotten. Is it going to go over 100? And I think that we're getting this radiation zone, is actually from the years of the radiation running off the rooftops down into the drains, and I think it's all accumulating down into the downspouts. So that's where we're getting such a high reading, which is the highest that I've ever had on my detector. So right now, we got to at least I'd say about a mile or two from the chemical plant, Harshaw itself anyways. So we're quite a ways away. Alright, it says over here the X-ray exposure from a chest X-ray is equal to 0.02 millisieverts. I'm going to go on the side here. So if mine went up to 0.05, that means that there is twice the amount of radiation in this drain tile as opposed to a chest or X-ray. It don't sound heartening at all. So my conclusion would be that the chest X-ray is 0.01, the drain is 0.05, so there's 5 times the amount of radiation in that drain than a chest X-ray, and a chest X-ray is going to only last probably like a half a second or a second, if that, whereas if you sat next to that drain towel for a couple hours, there is quite an accumulation of exposure right there. Alright, this was pretty hot. Let's go find another one. Do one on his grass. So
That's about where the other one went up to, too.
Alright, so right there, that equivalent would be 25 hours is a dental x-ray at 200.
Alright, so good. Let's go buy an electrical, like my meter.
Alright, here we go. We're at Wendy Park. And someone told me that this used to be a dump. And when I was doing my investigations, someone told me that there used to be slag, piles of slag over by 176 by Steelyard, across from Harshaw, that they dumped here. And I'm curious to see if it was part of this mound, is part of it. So let's do a little reading as we walk up to it and see what it's telling us. There's the mound right there. Alright, we're on top of the mound. Let's see what happens here. Now, even if background was 30, we're still getting double the counts per minute here. And remember, I'm only getting, there's probably micro hotspots on this hill over here. So that's definitely double. Even if it was 40, going 80. So let me walk away from it and see what it shows. And then we'll go up and see if it goes back up. All right, now we're up on top again. And here we go, we got the nice sunset going here. So now we'll go to this little mound. Alright, we're climbing. Alright, we're on top of the mountain now, the little baby mound. Alright, we'll do this one more time. We'll walk up to the mound. And see what it's shooting on top. Alright, now we're approaching. We're up on top now. Yeah.
We wanted to go on that map, but it wasn't big enough. I showed her this one.
Oh, this is a big one.
Ralphie was already taken.
You need to go all the way up the mountain.
No, I'll only be here a couple minutes. I don't want to hang out here.
What are you taking readings of? That's
Oh yeah.
concerning.
Yeah, it is. It's very sad.
Trash
It's
bag?
very sad, actually.
Actually.
I found out this was a dump.
Oh. Well, how bad is it? How bad is?
Okie dokie, we are about 30 feet from the hill, so I'll tell you when we're at the base. Alright, base at the mound, and we're walking up. Now standing on top. Actually, it's this weird black substance. $62. 74 counts per minute. Counts. All right, now I'm gonna walk down.
Radiation or uranium?
It just picks up alpha, beta, gamma, or X-ray.
What's a microwave?
That's See, look at I walk down the hill and it goes down.
I don't want to stand on that hill again.
Yeah, look at it. Now it's down to 30.
I gotta take a thing of it. What's it called again? It's CPM.
Counts per minute.
No, the only thing that Dennis Kuchinich has, one of the only
is one uranium ore.
One of the only bills that Dennis Kuchinich was the main sponsor on and passed was the Ukrainian Egg Museum in Fremont.
Yay!
Funding.
Well, no, the thing is, though, what's happening over there is killing people. You know, it's giving people cancer.
I might have cancer after today, being on that hill. I don't know, you might want to watch it. You're spending some time.
Well, I know, put it this way, because I'm testing my stuff like outside my room now because the end of my bed is radioactive now.
No way.
Yeah, I was
what,
putting...
did you bring some radioactive girls home?
No, I tested my salmon at the end of my bed. I tested the cod.
You're bringing your salmon to bed with you?
Yeah, and then I tossed it out. I ate the first one. That was it.
Do we get a ride back?
Hey guys, we're getting ready to close the park.
Okay.
That's cool.
Cool, thank you. Alright, let's go back to May 13th, 2010, and we have an article that states Army engineers clear Harshaw site for towpath trail section in Cuyahoga Heights. So let's read a couple things about it. It says that the towpath trail planners received the go-ahead Wednesday from the Army Corp of Engineers to extend the path into 6-acre section of the former Harshaw Chemical Company property. It says the land on the east bank of the Cuyahoga River off Harvard Avenue is mostly wooded and in a low-lying area. Engineers said that their evaluation and assessments concluded that there are no risks to using the land for recreational purposes. Andrea Kohlhoff, a project engineer for the Army, said the Harshaw site once processed uranium between 44 and 59 near the Harvard-Denison Bridge, which is on the other side of the river, and that's where most of the contamination is. Andrea Kohlhoff, a project engineer for the Army, said the Harshaw site once processed uranium between 44 and 59 near the Harvard-Denison Bridge, which is on the other side of the river, and that's where most of the contamination is. The trail can be extended because the project presents no dangerous impact, that she told about 50 people who attended the meeting at the Ohio and Erie Canal Reservation. The risks are well below established limits, she says. There is no immediate threat to human health or the environment. Planners want to cross the Harshaw site into the trail north to downtown Cleveland. Martin D. Gelfand, senior counsel for U.S. Representative Dennis Kuchinich, read a letter from Kuchinich saying that although the Army Corps concluded there are no unacceptable risks to current or future land uses, the report is not explicit enough on what those risks are. Kuchinich requested that the contaminated areas from the northern fence line to the southern railroad property line be studied next and remediated so the towpath trail can be completed sooner than later. So then we go down to the comments, and I like what this guy was saying about good old Dennis. He says, why again did the USACE, the United States Army Corps of Engineers, change their tune so quick? Last fall, I swear they stated we could not revisit the issue for more than 5 years. Or is it Mr. Dennis stirring the pot and walking away again? Mr. Dennis is demanding the area from the fence to the tracks to be remediated of contaminated areas so we can use this sooner than later. Who is bound by his words? Actually, who? Or is it code and law that actually binds us to these actions? Mr. Dennis, did you perform any research on the property before you made a declaration? Who all did you meet to prompt this visit on your soapbox, or to your soapbox? Who do you expect to execute your demands? Mr. Dennis, are there any alternatives? Did you even consider any thought of one? Mr. Dennis, did you look into what the potential cost could be if you stuck a shovel in this tar baby? Who pays? Mr. Dennis, tell me how we safely remediate radioactive contamination and material in a setting like this. I can just see it now. The Harshaw site shall have no rest area. It will be a skinny corridor or fence with signs that say, keep going, no stopping. There will be visible radiation signs on the buildings as you pass. Have Mr. Dennis hold a press conference there when it's done with a signage visible behind him. Tell him to wait there and we will be along shortly. Now, that is in 2010, and 2 years later, now the Army Corp of Engineers is saying that it is just way too contaminated to open that up right now. It still needs more cleanup. So I don't know where this project manager for the Army Corp of Engineers, where they got this info that back then it was ready, it was ready, cleaned up enough that there was no imminent threat to humans or the environment, and now they're saying whoa, that it's not cleaned up yet. So that's the reason why they're going around it. So within 2 years they changed their mind. Alright, this seems to be a map of some sort that is showing, I think, where the trail wants to be, and that's right around the bend of the river there. So I think that's pretty much where they want to go with that. But then I go to this one, it seems to be around the same, so I don't know where the most updated map is, but it looks like they want to put it right around the bend of the river there. So remember that. Here's where the current terminus of the towpath trail, that's where it ends. That's Harvard right there. So see how actually they can't go through here. So actually right now what they're doing is they're leading you, I think, along Harvard to Jennings, and they're taking you up to Steelyard. But check this out. This is where there's Harshaw right there. There's Harvard. They're taking you to Jennings. Let me show you something else over here. Okay, now here's that picture again of the 1956 aerial, and what I think, alright, let me bring this in there. So what's really important, remember earlier I showed you the pile of possibly yellow cake? They're definitely dumping it, it's in the books, they were dumping the yellow cake uranium into the Cuyahoga River. Now here's the bridge, and here's the bend in the river, right over here is the bend. See that? There's the pile. So now where do these guys want to put the new towpath, or the alternative route? Now here is the aerial. Now, here's the big building, bridge, yellow cake. Big building, bridge, yellow cake. So we're looking at this right here, this part of the river. Here's the bridge though, there's the corner. This is where that yellow cake I think is. Don't you think that's a little close to where they want to put the new towpath? If that's even gonna be off the old map. I'm trying to still find a new map. So see, there's the bend in the river. Let's move this over. The bend in the river. See it? Or boom, there's the railroad tracks. There's the bend in the river. That's the pile right there. And they say, I think they want to go underneath the... Alright, here's the 56 picture again. Now, there's the Cuyahoga. There's the bridge. Here's part of Harshaw also. So here's Harvard. Right? So these buildings are gone. This is where they supposedly dumped a bunch of depleted tailings, uranium tailings. So this is not here. But check it out when we go onto the Google. Here, Harvard River. Now, when we do the street map, let's pull this up. And what do we have? Let's turn around. Actually, we're a little bit up more now, further down. This is where I wanted to start. Alrighty. Let's move it around. And look at, we've got the towpath. So this is actually where they're coming out and hitting Harvard, and they're sending them down this way. So let's go for a little spin. Where they got us going down the path. Harvard. We're going over the bridge. And now let's turn to the... Actually, I wanted to go a little bit further here. And now let's look inside. That's where those buildings were standing. See, that's the empty field, the empty parking lot. And I think it's pretty interesting. As we'll go a little bit further here. There, boom, 1000 Harvard Avenue. But let me back up over here even a little bit, because I wanted to show you. They kind of give you a little warning. Right over there. It says, no parking anytime. So they kind of give you a little warning. And there's the other one right there. What does that say? No parking anytime. Doesn't say it's a fire lane or anything. They're just telling you they don't want you to hang out over here. So this is what they call passive recreation. Let's zoom out a little bit. And look at you go. They're gonna send you right next to the building. Let's go a little further. Let's take another peek. There's the railroad tracks. There's the front entrance. Look at that, you can get right next to it. I would love to get my detector like along here where the radiation's on the roof, and when it rains it's leaking down and getting into the crevices. And notice there are no drain tiles on this side of the street. So let's go take a little look up. That's looking up in the towpath. So they want you, I'm pretty sure, if I'm right, they have you coming right in front of the building itself. Which whoever did this, who planned this, is unbelievably stupid. And there's the notice. There's the chain. That's the main gate. And let's continue down Harvard Avenue. So if you want, stop in, pick up some wings. I think they might have the atomic wings. Ask them how hot they are. So there you go. Let's zoom out. Oh, zoom in. Oh, there you go. Back to Harvard Avenue. And then there's Jennings. So that's what they want to take you, is Harvard right next to Harshaw. There's where those buildings were. Now this is all contaminated. That's why they ripped the buildings down. So they want you biking, jogging, or whatever with you or your kids right through a totally contaminated spot with radiation. Even if they call it passive, low levels. Would you want low levels of thorium, uranium? So look at, you go up Harvard, and then they got you going to Jennings. I just find it incredible. There it is. And I think, let's zoom in a little bit more. I think they're gonna actually, one of the maps is showing like this little trails. I'm hoping it was the old plan that they actually had like little trails over here. There's supposedly some kind of dead end that's supposed to take you to the river. So let's read that again while I still have it up. Alright, it says, the eventual connector will loop around the contaminated property. Most of the route will be on county-owned land directly beneath the Harvard-Denison Bridge and above the existing train tracks curving at each end to connect with the existing trails. A dead-end branch of the new section will allow users to walk or bike along the Cuyahoga River. So it's going to allow you to bike and hike around the Cuyahoga River. So remember, bike and hike around the Cuyahoga River. Are you kidding me? Underneath the Harvard Bridge. That's where they're talking about. There's the yellow cake right there. And that's a big pile. That's almost like almost the size of this building. So that's actually where I think they want. There it is. There's the bridge. So we gotta keep an eye on this, because if they want you playing along this river where piles of yellow cake used to be, forget about it. Alright, to be continued. Alright, one more, hopefully one last observation, because I'm trying to get this video over with, but I keep on coming across new stuff. Real quickly, this is what I'm trying to figure out, which I kind of just did. The pile, the old Harvard Denison Bridge, or the Denison Bridge, and if you look at the Google map, I just noticed these two pieces, these rectangular pieces in the river. Was wondering what that was, and I think I just figured it out. Those are the foundations of the old bridge. Check it out. The old bridge, the new bridge. Old bridge, new bridge. These are the pilings, or the foundations of the old, the foundations of the bridge. Which makes sense. I thought they just put it right on top of the old one. And then, let me check out real quick again. The pile, which I believe is, someone was saying they dumped the yellow cake uranium into the river. If it isn't this, if it is not yellow cake, it's definitely something that's not good for the environment. But check it out. That pile is right after the building. So basically, right about here is where that pile sits. And that's about it. So I just wanted to point that out, that those are the foundations of the old bridge are right over here. I actually thought maybe this little thing over in here, I thought might have been a little bit part of that pile that might have not all washed away. I'm pretty sure it washed away, or else someone must have dumped it down the river, or I think just naturally after these 50 years it kind of washed down the river. But it's very shallow at this part of the river. So I don't know, that's just my observation. But that definitely is the old bridge used to be here. So it kind of puts in perspective this old picture from 1956. Photo credit, the Cleveland Press. Alright, this is what I found on the side of the building. This interesting sign with the numbers 2 and a 0. So I tried looking it up, and actually it's called, it's a rating. So the 2, the blue is the health hazard, and they're saying that's a 2. So they're saying that it can cause temporary incapacitation or residual injury. And the red is the flammability hazard, which is a 0, so it will not burn. Whatever they're talking about in the buildings. But that is the NFPA Rating Explanation Guide. And right there they're saying that it can cause temporary incapacitation or residual injury. Those are the hazmat diamonds, they call them. Well, I'm glad I know that. Which is telling me that it's not going to catch fire, but it can cause temporary incapacitation or residual injury. Here's the standard, and what it's telling me for the blue, let me get this right again, blue is 2, so they're saying blue is hazardous. The health hazard right there is hazardous, not slightly or extreme, but hazardous. The fire hazard is a 0, it will not burn.
Low over here.
Yeah, you gotta give it a second.
I can't believe it was that much more up that way.
Hold on.
Yeah, you're getting something.
Yeah. This is what I always wanted to do. Because you figured the rain would be washing it down the side of the building here. The problem.
What's that thing? A camera? You just take.
Yeah, I'm just taking some shots. The problem I have. Here, on 7.3. So here's the other thing is I told you about this quality factors. If it's alpha or a beta is this reading times 1. Well, if you get an alpha, it's times 20 because alpha rays are more damaging to the human tissue. So this number, that's why I said these formulas I came across, then you can put the formulas to know which, but I can't tell you what isotope it is.
Right. Walk down this way.
You want to?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to even go. It's gonna be perfect. He said that it's all up on the roof over there. All that radiation's up on the roof there. That's why I would love to see if there was any drain spouts. All right.
There's one right there.
Yeah, it's not going to the ground though.
No, you're right about that. What's playing at the Q tonight?
Nothing. It's Blossom. It was a Warp Tour.
Good nitro on. What kind of crowd do you get there?
It depends.
What's the highest number you ever seen on there?
200, 0.200.
Here?
Across on Spring.
Does it go up to 155 is about the high?
Yeah.
When did this place close?
59, I think.
Wow, and they just left it here all day.
Yes. What kills me is Kuchinich was how long in this city, and this is his district.
Probably was told to keep his mouth shut.
He's too busy trying to.
161 was the highest. When it clicks like that, does that mean it found something?
Yeah, that's each time it clicks something. One piece hit the. There's a tube inside this thing. And then I read somewhere else. I think it says that it actually detects a decay of a radiation particle. That's what it's detecting. When a radiation particle decays, it picks that up. So each time there's a click, it's picked up something. The problem is I would love to do this whole site, but you can't see anything where it's at. You know, you just got to do one of these.
What's that doing?
I'm just recording before you got there. That was in the grass. These people don't have a clue. Okay, so what it's reading right here is in between 100 and 200. So that's between, so that would be approximately, if you hang out here for, it's going to take you about 30 hours if you hang out over here to get the normal equivalent of one dental x-ray. Alright, we're right there. It's at 0.100, so that equals exactly 50 hours will take you the amount of radiation for a dental x-ray. The problem is we are like way about, I'd say, thousands of feet from Harshaw, and all this soil has been, actually probably looks like it's been excavated. So it's all pretty new, so it's none of the original stuff. So the stuff that you're picking up right here is actually from what's blowing off the plant and settling on the towpath and the grass itself. So I mean, if you don't mind getting a dental x-ray over here, pedal on, be my guest. But if you got kids and you don't want them to breathe any thorium or plutonium or uranium, and hope it's not an alpha particle, because it's going to do way more damage than a beta or a gamma, be my guest. But this totally be my last time I'm visiting this dump. So there you go. It must be a dog pile because it smells like shit around here. Hey, look at my shirt's glowing. I must be receiving some radiation. Alright, well, the whole point is, if you want to go to the towpath, that's up to you, but how many dental x-rays do you want to receive to go pedal a bike? I don't want any.
So that's weird. So from one spot, right here, you have 50 hours for a dental x-ray. Then right next to it, within a couple inches, you got 25 hours for a dental x-ray. But remember, when you get a dental x-ray, that's getting a dental x-ray. I don't think you expect to get a dental x-ray when you're exercising. So if you want a dental x-ray, 1/50th in the amount of time. More power to you. You can thank good old Donovan for that. It's just an added bonus. You don't have to pay for it either. It's free. Alright, there you go. That rock right there, that's what I wanted to find out. If you want yourself the amount of radiation that you would receive in a dental x-ray between 20 and 30 hours, sit on that rock right over there and you'll get it. Just remember, it's not an x-ray that you're getting though. It's actually either an alpha, beta, or gamma ray. Either uranium, thorium, plutonium, or one of the many isotopes, complements of Harshaw. Go over there, check it out. Hang out there. I'm not out. Okay, check it out. You tell me. I'm going to scan this across the grass here. I'm at the edge of the parking lot. You tell me, why is this fluctuating? I'll tell you why, because there's particles of radiological isotopes in this soil over here. And that's why you're getting fluctuations. I'm getting little hot spots like every several inches. And this is, imagine 1 square inch compared to maybe a mile. So I can't do all the readings over here. I'm just doing some light readings. So basically you can be assured that when you come down to visit the towpath, if you hang out here for about 30 to 50 hours, you're getting the equivalent of 1 dental x-ray. But that's only in the spots that I found. I might be able to, there might be spots here that are really hot. And you gotta remember, I'm picking up this stuff on newly laid soil and sod, which it's all fresh soil, so there's none of the old stuff here. What I'm picking up is this stuff that's already leached into the ground. And there you go, there's the marker right there. Alright, here's the definition of alpha particles in Wikipedia, and this is what I'm concerned about. It says when alpha particle emitting isotopes are ingested, they are far more dangerous than their half-life or decay rate would suggest, due to the high relative biological effectiveness of alpha radiation to cause biological damage after alpha-emitting radioisotopes enter living cells. Ingested alpha-emitter radioisotopes are an average of about 20 times more dangerous, and in some experiments up to 1,000 times more dangerous than their equivalent activity of beta or gamma-emitting radioisotopes. So if you're stepping on the ground over there and kicking up these particles, you may be breathing these alpha particles. Here's under biological effects. It says because of the short-range absorption, alphas are not in general dangerous to life unless the source is ingested or inhaled, in which case they become extremely dangerous. Because of this high mass and strong absorption, if alpha-emitting radionuclides do enter the body, upon being inhaled, ingested, or injected, alpha radiation is the most destructive form of ionizing radiation. It is the most strongly ionizing, and with enough doses can cause any or all of symptoms of radiation poisoning. It is estimated that chromosome damage from alpha particles is anywhere from 10 to 100, actually from 10 to 1,000 times greater than that caused by the equivalent of a gamma or a beta radiation. Alright, here is from April of 2010 the document for the proposed plan for closure and no further action at Investigative Area 6, which I'll show you. Alright, hold on, let me grab it. Alright, here it is. There's the parking, and here's Harvard, here's the river. What I found disturbing last time I was there, there was a car parked here, and a father and son came out with their fishing poles, and I talked to them, and they were fishing along the river over here. So I don't know if they have any idea where they're walking. They said they caught fish downstream but not upstream. Yeah, I wonder why, but I find that pretty disturbing that you're allowed to, the public is still allowed to walk in this area and fish. So one of my suggestions would be is close this area off. People shouldn't be allowed walking in there. And then here's a chart of what was found, the percentage that was found there, and here's 100% every time they found. And what do we have? We've got radium-226, 228, thorium 228, 230, 232, uranium's 234, 238, and now let's compare that to the list of alphas.
Alright, here's the list of alpha emitting materials, and let me compare from their list here. So what do we have? Let's start with the thoriums, and we've got thoriums 227, 28, 29, 30, and 32. So we got thorium 228, 230, and 232. So those are all alphas that are found there. Now let's go to the uraniums 233, 34, 35, 36, and 38. So there's the 33, the 34, the 35, 36, and 38. All of them. So these are thoriums and uraniums are definitely alpha particles, which are the real bad boys. So I wouldn't want to be breathing any of those, because like it says, it does some hardly any damage on the outside, but once you ingest them or inhale them, they do a ton of damage. So that's my whole gripe, is everybody says, oh, everything, the radiation levels are low level and they're below background. Well, even if background is who knows how many counts per minute, all you have to do is inhale only a few particles to do some heavy duty damage. So that's why I'm totally on the opposite end of the spectrum with the Corps of Engineers saying that it's totally safe down there. But we couldn't agree to disagree. I'm just trying to give you my opinion, what I think. And also, there's the radiums. The radiums 218, 19, 220, 222, and 226. And there they are. 100% of the time they found them. All of them. 226 and 228. And actually look at, they got the plutonium in here too. 238, 39, and 40. Plutonium 238, 239, 240. So there's a whole bunch of a hot mess of hot particles down there. And like they said, you do not want to be ingesting or inhaling alpha particles. That's exactly what you're getting down there. I just don't believe that they believe themselves that it's as dangerous as it is. And that's all I gotta say. Alright, here's the final response I got from representatives of Betty Sutton's office, and I do respect that they actually did put an inquiry in with the Ohio EPA about my concerns, so I applaud them for their effort, unlike other politicians that I asked for help. It states, we understand your concerns about the Harshaw area. However, the study from the United States Army Corp of Engineers, a main organization, is what we would rely on to make a recommendation. Their study deemed the area safe for its intended purposes. Attached is the official newsletter from the United States Army Corps of Engineers explaining the decision. If you have more concerns or would like to further your research on the Harshaw area, here is the email address of Dwayne Lenhart, the project coordinator for the United States Army Corps of Engineers. So this is passive radiation. Radioactive particles aren't the same as ultraviolet rays or like walking through an X-ray machine. Once the particles are inhaled or eaten, they stay inside you until they decay. Some isotopes take hundreds of years, or even thousands, millions. Some are 14.5 billion years is a half-life. When you eat radioactive particles, it's like you ate small X-ray machines. They stay inside your lungs and organs and zap your cells till they die. if the buildings are going to be standing there for the next couple decades, I say what we should do is build some kind of dome or a building over it to prevent further migration of the radiation from blowing off it in the wind and washing off in the rain and in the snow and all the elements. But I think that would be the best short-term solution, and then as they clean it up and dig it out, at least it will be protected from all these particles to be leaving that area. It would be contained.
This is going to be the toughest 1 mile of trail perhaps ever built in America because of all of the extenuating circumstances, from the Harshaw plant to the railroad crossings that we have to navigate to the industry that's very closely knit down there. There's very little passageways to find. This is going to be the toughest 1 mile of trail perhaps ever built in America